Welcome to What's on My Bench. Today we have episode number 2, the Formula One car from Sakura, the FGX. Alright, now the body post is a little on the low side for my liking without having my body set up. So I've found a nice little spacer that can fit in and go where this body mount goes. And it just sits nice and flat in here. And the body mount goes on top of that, giving it about a 2mm space. Now the other two go flush with the square holes here. Again, I like these mounted so they are in line. You can either mount them this way or you can mounting where the hole goes sideways. I like them in line with the vehicle. I'm using one of those shorter button head screws. We'll install that. And there we are, there's one done. See you on the other side. And these little ball studs are 1.5mm, and the bigger ball stud is a 2mm, or which is the same as 5/64. I can get it to move my hand. There we go. You can see that fits in nicely. Ta-da. So we're going to put the little ones on first. I'll grab my 1.5mm, and they go in the outside hole, or holes, of the back plate. I'll keep it flat on the table so we can make sure we're perpendicular, and run them in. And come in. And the third one we're going to put in with the screwdriver because it's just as easy, and it goes in this last hole. Making sure, of course, to stop before you get to the bottom. I'll take my hand driver and screw the rest of the way. Oh. So now this chassis plate is ready for the front assembly. And how that goes in is we have the camber plate on our new one here. This one here. It slides in like this. And the little grooves on here can line up with the grooves on the bottom arm, and you can give us our caster. Depends how far back or forward you push it, and relative to the top will give us how much lean we have in the tires. A lot of guys like a lot, some guys like a little. For generally speaking, my cars I like just a little bit, so I try to keep this as rearward as I can. Also gets the front tires back further, closer to the rear tires. Just decreases the wheelbase just about 1mm. And the two screws we're worrying about are the ones going through these nuts. I'll take some long screws, get them through. I'll use my hand driver to get them started, making sure they hit my screws. There it is, without the screws poking out the other side. Now I'll put them in a couple of threads just to attach it nicely. And see how this moves back and forth. So all the way forward is lots of caster, all the way back is not so much caster. The reason these are moving is because I haven't put in my turnbuckles in here. Not turnbuckles, my ball studs. There's 4 ball studs that go in, they're pink. They look like that. I like to get the 2 long screws in first to help locate the bottom plate. I have my finger over top of the nut, and then we'll just run in a few threads. Make sure you can still move it forward and back. Now I'm going to push all the way back. Now I will install the bowl cups. Now these are fairly long studs on them, so I will use the driver for that. Now with these bowl studs, we're not going to run them all the way down. We're going to get them in until they're near, but stop before they get too deep. You still want to be able to move it around so you can make sure it's centered, and then tighten them down with a hand screwdriver. Okay, so once you have this set nicely, you'll see that the bottom plate can move back and forth freely, and it wiggles side to side a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hand screwdriver and just slowly tighten these one at a time until it centers itself nicely. Stops wiggling, because that means it's nice and attached. There we go. Now if they made a 1/2 degree camber plate, which is the one I'll put underneath here, I would have one because I like less camber for our track. And they only make a -1, -2, and -3 camber plate, which just means it puts these ball studs closer to the middle than the outside. The -1 is almost on the very outside. And we've still got a little bit of play from the screws because they're loose. But these uppers now are nice and tight and nothing moves side to side. Again, if they had 1/2 mil wider one of these, I would actually just eke those plastic out a little bit so I had the wider. Now I can change these out. There's a system from Exotech that if you can find on eBay, you can change your uppers to 2 camber lengths, and that makes them adjustable, which I would like, but I don't have that right now, so I'm not going to buy them. So I'm going to take mine and push the bottom plate all the way back till it hits the screws. Don't go excessive, just a little bit. I'm going to now tighten the screws on the bottom. This will lock in that bottom plate to the camber link, and now it doesn't move. It's nice and tight. And as it is, I got this backwards. It's no big deal. I can still take it off. So now with our bottom plate on, we still have to put on the rest of the screws onto the main chassis, but we're getting close. The front wing's got to go on these 2 holes here, and the upper camber links need to go on the ball studs. They just go on, give them a little squish, they should snap in place. Cool. And we can see suspension moving there and here. Get a good idea what kind of camber we have to deal with. Isn't much, but -1, and a lot less slop than I had before, which is nice. Alright, so I've gone ahead and done some more work. I've decided to modify the bottom. Here's the top of the plate. Everything looks fine here. But what I wanted to modify was a strength in this area right here. So what I did is, this is all shoe goo, so it's going to give some give. It's going to be flexible. But I also put some pieces in here that attach the little lips underneath here to hopefully put pressure on this whole structure to keep it from failing. So it looks like it's going to work okay. I see it as it's drying. It's got a little divot there. That's okay. So as this goes, I'm going to keep an eye on it and make sure everything stays clean. But hopefully that's going to keep this front end from breaking. So we'll try that and see how it works. If this one breaks, I'm going to get one made in aluminum. Enough of that business. I also went ahead and installed the new pinion I got and the speed gears. And here's those pinion gears. So they come down as low as 35, which is what I put in, and that's the outside gear, the number of teeth on the outside. The inside gear is always the same because it attaches to the rest of the drivetrain, the transmission. So this one here is a 39. So that's one step bigger. That's what was in the car before. So those two 39s, the bigger one. We have a 41 and a 43. So for example, if I want to put a bigger motor in, I could do that by getting the bigger size spur. So these are basically spur gears, and running a smaller pinion. The motor itself has a very limited amount of space I can move. I think I have about a 5-tooth range. I can go down probably 2 more teeth from this one, or 3 more teeth from this one, which is a 20. It's a 20. So this is a 20. I can probably get to 19 or 18 max, or minimum. If you look at the screws on the end, they're almost all the way in. There's not much more the motor can move in. It's got a very limited space there. In actuality, I've got probably about less than a millimeter. So we're talking a tooth, maybe 2 teeth if I'm lucky. Maybe 2 teeth if I have a loose fit here. So say for example, I can go down to an 18, and as high, this is a 23. And with this gear I have in here, I could probably fit a 25 in. So that's a 7-tooth range on the pinion, which is why they give you lots of different teeth ranges on the spur. So I had the 39 with the 20. It was a little too slow. I really couldn't increase that ratio much. I only had about 1 tooth more. If I had a 21, I could probably put 1 more tooth on with the 39 on, because I just didn't have enough room where where this post is. There wasn't enough room beside it to allow for the motor to sit. It's already modified as it is. So I had to go and get a different spur, a smaller one, the 35, and then I can run a couple bigger teeth. So I've definitely increased my rollout right now quite significantly, but this will be just fine. Alright, now we're going to put the wing on the front of the car. That just mounts to these 2 points here. And what you saw me doing in the little fast forward video there was me drilling a hole so I can access the screw from underneath. All I'm going to do is I'm going to get a couple screws and we'll mount it through. So I need to get the top plate attached to the bottom plate, all the bits and pieces in. We've got one mount point here, one mount point here, there, and there. The front cap plus a standoff for that. Those can go in after. We'll get this first one in here. It's not overly long screw. We have 2 mount points back here, and those 2 can go on. Now, I think the old one had a little cutout here for the arm. I'm not sure if we'll actually need it or not. Let's just have a look sideways, shall we? That goes there, and those go there. Oh, it looks okay. All right. We'll just get this attached, see what happens. The front one's in. Now we're going to get the back two in. And they just sit right flush with the back two like this. And then they get screwed into those two posts there. There we go. Again, we're tightening finger tight. That's all we need. So we have a couple different posts to connect. We have a turnbuckle that attaches a link, a support link, from the rear bulkhead to the top plate. We'll put that in. Just going to grab a pair of pliers and give it a little snap. Not like that, or that. I'm not left-handed, let's try this right-handed. That's always better. And I have two we can't use pliers for, but there are shocks. Put it on like so. Give it a little snap. This can go on like so. And we'll give it a snap. Ooh, that was hard. There we go. So now our rear suspension is in place. So here we got the wing, and we need to do some fixing. We got pieces missing here. The screws are actually right there on both sides, and that's the only thing really wrong with it, I think. Yeah, everything else is doing pretty good. So I'm going to pull this screw and that screw, reconnect it, and it should be okay. Now what happened was this screw pulled through this piece here. And it looks okay right now. I'm going to reattach it and see if it'll hold. If it doesn't hold, I'll have to put a shim on it on the outside just to retain it. But to try to find some shim small enough should be fun. So we're just going to reattach it the normal way and see if it'll hold. That looks pretty good. It was a pretty bad crash that dislodged this one. Oh, this one is missing its screw entirely. Alright, so we need a screw for that one. It's a good thing I collect screws and stuff. And what I'm looking for is a thread that's nice and small, but a screw head that's pretty big. Because I don't want this to pull out again. So the screw goes through that hole. Let's see if it screws into the actual hole here. I might have to drill it out just a little bit. Well, it seems to be going in. No splitting. Looks good. Let's just keep going. See if we can close up that gap a bit. Nice. That's not going to come off anymore. This looks fine. Now there's one adjustment on here. I can take the screw out of here, move it down one, and that increases this little lip for downforce. Not that my car needs a whole lot more downforce. So I think we're done fixing the wing. Now we need to affix the wing back into the car. And to do that, we need to put in a couple screws. Two on the top, two on the back. And the two on the top right here, 1 and 2, they go to those little cups there. They have little ridges here. And these two just go very good and flat there. So when I put this in, it just sits like that. Now these two being fairly long screws can go in from the top around the wing. And I do have a fancy dancy screwdriver here somewhere with a ball end on it. Now here's my ball end wrench. And what we can do with this one is insert an angle and still screw it in. providing, of course, the screws are right ball or the right head. There, and 2 from the back. There we are, nice and buttoned up. Now it should basically stand on its own. Now, 2 little things to finish up. Just the ball cups here on the end. I want to check each one to make sure they're nice and tight. And they are. And they get clipped on like so. Make this one on here. It needs a little tightening. There we go. Nice and tight. Then we can clip this guy on like so. Ta-da! And there we have it. The F1 is back up and running. You gotta make sure everything is nice and hunky-dory. Alright, it's right, but it feels really good. Hopefully the stiffener plate's gonna help. That's what I did under here. But we're not gonna hit anything when we drive. So, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.